GM. GM. Today's lesson is my thoughts on intelligence. I got a question in a live stream earlier, a really good question. Someone asked me, how do you define intelligence? And my answer is the ability to get what you want. I think it's very simple. And I mean, that's always made sense to me. I think a lot of people maybe define intelligence in different ways. But one of the ways I first heard it or first thought about it was actually from Tate. And he said something like, if you're so smart, why aren't you rich? You know, on one of his videos years ago when I was first found Tate. And it's basically that. That's it. Right? If you're so smart, why aren't you rich? But I also believe that not everybody is driven by money. So I don't think it's a case of, like some people say, the measure of intelligence is how rich you are, right? Because it doesn't matter how well you do in school, right? How book smart you are. It doesn't matter how good your emotional intelligence is. There's all these different ways, EQ, IQ, all this kind of stuff. All that really matters is the number on the screen, the bank balance. But because people aren't all solely motivated by money, I just take it one step further and say the ability to get what you want is intelligence. So if you want to be a professional athlete and you go down the road of doing everything in your power, figuring out what to do, getting the right coaches, getting the right instruction, working very hard for many, many years, and you become what you want to be, that is intelligence. You had an idea, a vision, a plan, you executed it. You couldn't turn around and say to somebody, oh, well, you're not a professional golfer like me, so you're dumb, right? That would be silly, wouldn't it? Yet, why do people who are smart, right, book smart, people who've got like a high IQ on paper, or people who've got high scores in exams, or prestigious university degree, they will literally look down at somebody and be like, I'm a doctor, I'm a PhD, or I've got a blah, 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 whatever fucking grades there. But what good is that if it's not directed towards something? Right? It would be, imagine a professional athlete said, you are a fucking idiot because you're not a professional athlete. Everyone would be like, that's stupid. But it's the same thing. The ability to get what you want. The problem these smart people, and I use smart very loosely, air quotes, book smart. Yeah, okay, you do well on tests and you think you're better than everyone, blah, blah. The reason why they're so wrong is that they're actually so in their own little bubble that they have a very narrow-minded view. They think that if you don't have a certain IQ score or you can't recite all these random facts and figures and understand fucking quantum mechanics or whatever, if you don't know all that, then you're an idiot. No. It means that you're not in their field, which, fair enough. If the measure of intelligence for a bunch of scientists is how much you know about science, then sure. But that's also exactly proving my point. Because what do they want to be? They want to be a scientist. They want to be the best in their field. They want to get a PhD. They want to get a, whatever, become a fucking rocket scientist. They get what they want. The measure of it is to achieve it. If somebody wants to be a rocket scientist and they end up as a general practitioner, a GP in a doctor's office, then they have failed, right? They've objectively failed in what they wanted to do. They didn't either take the time to figure out the things they need to do. They didn't work hard enough. They didn't somewhere along the line. It's not as if there's this God-given talent for being a rocket scientist, right? Talent takes you so far, but everything, to a large degree, everything can be learned. Not absolutely everything. There's some things, like if you're not 6'7", you're probably not going to be an NBA basketball player. If you're 5'3", probably not for you, right? There's certain physical limitations. But for the most part, the things you want to achieve, you go out, you figure out a plan, you identify the areas you need to learn, you understand where the gaps in your knowledge are, you go and fill those in, and then you succeed. That's intelligence. If for you that's making $1 million, then that's your measure. And this is a little bit controversial. Controversial not even the right word. This is a little bit kind of out of the box thinking. But one of the ways to motivate yourself, maybe it's for you, maybe it's not. For me, it certainly works, is if you use this frame of logic, it takes away all excuses, first of all, right? So if you say, the measure of intelligence is the ability to get what you want. Okay, cool. Nice quote, but let's make it real. I want $1 million. Okay. Well, if you don't have it, then you can't call yourself intelligent yet. And that should be all the fucking motivation in the world that you need. Because people like to hide behind labels. And this is a big part of what book smart people do, right? They can tell you all about things, whatever it is. They can tell you all about these random topics, and they can tell you all about their specialist subject in whatever field they're in. But deep down, they probably always wanted to be rich and successful. They probably wanted to have a big business. They probably wanted to have world-renowned, a reputation around the world for being the best at what they do. And because they weren't willing to figure it out, they didn't have the intelligence to actually go and get what they actually wanted, they hide behind superficial knowledge, knowing a lot of things. What good is knowing a lot of things if it doesn't get you what you want? Right? What good is knowing a lot of things if it doesn't get you what you want? Nothing wrong with being having knowledge. Nothing wrong with being well read. Nothing wrong with knowing, about the world. You certainly don't want to be an ignorant moron who knows nothing. But the thing that you actually want, the thing that you define as success, whether it's money, whether it's sports success, whether it's business success, whether it's community success with building and helping your community and charity, whatever it could be, the thing you want the most, once you achieve it, you've proven I have a high world-class level of intelligence because I set out to do something, I figured out how to do it, and I did it. And no amount of fucking PhDs or degrees can replace that. And last thing, I'm not shitting on any of those things. If you want to be a doctor or an engineer or a lawyer or run a big business, whatever, do anything you want. Just make sure you're not lying to yourself. Make sure you're not using it as a coping mechanism. If you truly want to become rich and successful so that you can, set your family up for generations, make that your target. Make it your goal. Don't be afraid to. There's plenty of people with below average intelligence who are multimillionaires and billionaires. There are dyslexic and billionaires who can't read and write. There's no measure of book success that tells you what you can and can't do. So, think about that. Figure out a plan for it. And get that singular focus towards the goal you actually want.